We're live. Let me go in and check and make sure that we're okay and give the people just 30, 45 seconds to get into the house. And this is the last show of a run that Morgan put together of, I think it's 12 days or 11 days, and it's almost 40 shows. And she was like, we've got to have, we've got to sit. And this day has been the culmination of it all with the moon. So you're the last one. Tomorrow I'm going to take a day off. The first day off in a long time. Okay.
You deserve it.
I need it. Yeah, I was running out. Oh, we got some people coming in already. Let me check the sound. Let's see. Yeah, we're good. Okay, hello Beth Buchlash and Henrietta Karstens. That's a new name. Vera Ingeborg's here. She was here today. Oh my God, that was an incredible show. Anyone that gets a chance needs to watch that show. Actually, both of them. Vera Ingeborg, Augusti was with her, and also Melissa Ford came out for the first time today. And she, a young lady, but oh my God, she's incredible. So we had some great shows today, and we have a great one we're about to have. I'm really looking forward to it. Sylvia Giza, she's been on before. Hello, Kate Armerego, Alexa Isra, Higher Heart, Alana Shearer, and Killick. 30 people in the house are coming too fast. So hello, everybody. And thank you for your continued love, support, and contributions as we continue to follow the fairy tale. Tonight. It's 10 o'clock in the evening in Kauai. It's 10 a.m. in South Africa. We have a very special guest today that many people know. This is the third time she's graced us with her presence on Soul Speaks 5D. I'm talking about Judith Kusel. I just want to thank you publicly for the work you do, and also for honoring us with your presence and sharing space with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me back, and I'm really honored to be with you. As you say, the first show was just amazing, and and also the second, but it's like forever in my heart. It's here in my soul.
Yeah. I was telling Morgan today, I see a pattern. The first show, the second show, there were some things that were happening around me, coinciding with you and with other people. And this being the last of almost 40 shows in the last 11 days before I take a day off tomorrow, and with the super red moon eclipse last night and the portal that appeared a few days ago. I mean, it's powerful for everybody. So it's a nice synchronicity. What's been going on with you? I'd love to hear your perspective. We've had a lot of congruency in the shows over the last 10 or 12 days in these 40 shows. People talking about what's going on really since the solstice, but really these first 20 days in January have just been off the chart. Definitely we're in a multi-dimensional realm now. There's more and more evidence of it. There seems to also have been a real physical impact on people. We'd love to hear your perspective on what's been going on, what intel you're gathering, and what your own experience has been.
Yeah, it's been an intense 3 weeks. I found that myself. I was really being challenged, and almost like I was being held back. Like I trying to go forward, but I'm like being held back, and I was feeling like I was in a bubble. And with that, I was also told that the whole of humanity is like at the moment being held in a bubble. And that bubble is a intergalactic bubble that we literally hold in as the divine feminine is anchoring herself in more and more. But we're literally being held cosmically in this whole light. It's a beautiful sort of a light energy that we're being held in as a planet is ascending now immensely fast. Lots of earth changes coming in. We will literally be catapulted now into the new higher dimensional states. It's inevitable. It's and the old needs to disintegrate. We need to get that old Adam and Eve out of the way, because we cannot take that baggage into that new and higher dimensional state, because we cannot hold the frequency band. If you cannot hold the frequency band, you disintegrate. I've done a lot of energy work, and when I in doing earth energy work, I literally start shaking from head to toe. And I've always been told that if you cannot hold your bodily form, you disintegrate. That's why most of the sacred sites have got many dimensional layers. And you can only tap into the higher dimensional if you've got your frequency right, so you can tap into them. A lot of people will stand, for instance, at this sacred, and they will just see trees and rocks. But the minute you start actually shifting, you can see all the dimensional layers as they unfold. I was teaching my students that in France. And once you actually start tapping into the higher dimensions, you have access to that dimensional field's information. And that is what we're busy rising. The earth is rising now into those dimensional states where all the information that has been in Atlantis and has been before her is now going to come to the fore. But we will only have access to as we grow. And if we don't grow in the dimensional shifts, we won't have access to that. So it's a time where humanity is literally, that the corn is being separated from the chaff. We are literally finding that these multidimensional forms, the 3D is still existing, but the fifth is now making herself felt. And we have to rise into that. And a lot of humanity is still being weighed down. They're literally being weighed down here. And it's these few that are here at the top that will now literally have to lift the rest. So it's inspired and visionary leadership that is now being called for. It is for science to step into that leadership. It's for science to finally acknowledge that they haven't got all the facts. In fact, a lot of facts are outdated. They're not there. We have to lead them so that their vision broadens and they start seeing what is beyond the seeing. And that is what this time is all about. It's a tremendous dimensional shift. I've been told that we are actually being lifted with this full blood moon now, where I went into immense upgrading, so much so that I was so dizzy I could hardly walk. But as these dimensional shifts happen, we will be catapulted into the higher state. And this higher state is now opening not only the fifth dimension, but it's opening the seventh.
Wow.
The original state that was where the planet was in originally. So you can imagine how we will literally be zoomed into this, and we have to start adjusting to that. So life will be like you are treading water all the time, like you're trying to not sink, and you're not quite sure which way you're going, but you have to rise above that now and move into that state. It's an amazing time. This year is going to be a time of changes and changes and changes.
Yes, and you used the word catapult. Do you feel that on the individual level, at least for some individuals, do you feel that that'll be like a sudden thing, where all of a sudden they're in a different reality just in the blink of an eye?
I get a lot of emails lately, and it's been interesting because the last two weeks I've just had these emails streaming in from people who suddenly discover my work, and they come to me and they say, "Well, we suddenly woken up," and I thought to myself, "Well, isn't this amazing?" So a lot of saying that, we always felt like a bit of a sleepwalker. They are really admitting it. And suddenly it's almost like some light goes on. It's like an aha moment. And they realize, there's more to life than meets the eye. All of this is happening. I have to wake up. And I find that it's going to happen more and more. They will also need, that's why that visionary leadership, that's why you are doing amazing work here. The visionary leadership has got to come to the fore. We literally have to lead humanity now. We were the forerunners. We've literally been woken up, and we had to go through all of these initiations and whatever else in order to grow spiritually and also at soul level, that we can take the lead now. And that leadership is now being called for. The old leadership, the old way of life, the old way of governance, the old way of teaching, of education, everything is going to go. It has to disintegrate. They cannot hold that frequency band anymore. So now a vacuum is created. So we have to now step into that vacuum. So that catapult is to step into that vacuum so that we can lead the rest of humanity. It is visionary It's the visionaries who will now rise, the ones that can think out of the box, the ones that can see the broader vision. And where everybody's always been laughing at everybody that's psychic or that can see things or that can experience things that are not rational, that people can't touch and whatever else, will start being the leaders.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've taught, like I said, there's been a lot of congruency over this last 11 or 12 days with these shows, in line with and everything's been real time on the spot. Like it's just one continuous broadcast, which is really just a reflection of what's going on. The information's moving fast. We're expanding rapidly. Several of the practitioners that do energy work that have been on the show have said what you said. They've said, I'm getting a lot of people that are just waking up and coming to me and saying, hey, I had a Kundalini experience. What's going on? So that comes to mind. And the other thing that's really been coming out has been what we talked about beforehand, before we started the show, and people talking about, it's a whole different realm now. One way or the other, we've been put in, I'm just speaking on behalf of whoever, we've been put in a situation, or we're following that voice. The human is struggling, not just with how do I get there, but when the magic comes, like, oh my God, that's really happening. It's almost like getting used to the magic. It just seems like we're being forced, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but forced to be in the now, and everything else is it's inapplicable now. It just doesn't apply. And it's taken getting used to. Do you have any insight on how to navigate that part of it, or make it happen with a little more ease and grace?
Well, I must say, I laughed because I was trying to plan, my life, my year ahead, I was trying to plan. And I was getting immensely frustrated with myself because I thought myself, now how am I going to get going if I'm busy sort of like sabotaging myself here? And my higher guides just stepped in and they said, you're not supposed to plan. And I was, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and I'll just use myself as an example because we talk about it. Other people talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
If I look at the situation, you asked me when we got on before the show, what brought you to Hawaii? What's going on? Well, all I can really say is we've had Morgan. I came first. Morgan came about 5 weeks later. We're trying to, follow our guidance, both individually and together. We're both doing the work. We're both feeding our divine love into Soulogy. I've learned, she pretty much had it already. We don't need to plan anything. I was doing the same thing, planning it, hitting my head. So I'm letting go of that. And, on the surface, it's like a hand to mouth existence. It's like you only have, I'm gonna have to use human terms, but the security of 2 or 3 days ahead, and we've got a plane ticket on February the 10th that I had to buy a return ticket because of passport visa issues, and it could be extended. It could be, but we don't know what's going to happen, and we're okay with it. But at the same time, you have to get rid of the desires and the attachments and the expectations. And it's just a really weird place to be. It's just like, it's just really weird. Nikki Hammond was on, and I said this on a couple of shows, and Nikki from New Zealand, and he's a wonderful man. And a couple of people had said, look in the rearview mirror. You're driving a car, look in the rearview mirror, and you look back and you see where you were. And now you see where you are. So kind of like give yourself some credit. Well, Nikki said, because I was asking him the same question, he's the same energy as you. And he said, well, okay, look in the rearview mirror, see where you were, look where you are now, and give yourself some credit. But look in the rearview mirror and remember what you were thinking at the time. Remember how you were feeling. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I was saying the same thing I am to myself now. I was saying, what do I do next? There's nothing but an unknown in front of me. And he said, okay, what did you do? And I said, well, I walked through the door. He said, and what happened? I said, the magic came. He said, there you go. It still doesn't make it easy, though. I thought it was quite clever, but at the same time, my human aspect, the lovable, beautiful human aspect, is still a little bit scared. I'm going to admit it.
Yeah. I have to share this with you because it's coming up to the fore. I'm still busy with struggling to finish my book on France because of all the information that I have to bring back to humanity about that. And what was lost to humanity? And what was lost to humanity is one of the greatest book of lives that was ever known. It was like the tree of knowledge of all knowledge. And it was called the Gospel of Love. It's, the Gospel of Love, which is being returned with the divine feminine. And as I was writing this, I went into a very high dimensional state. It was much higher than the normal. And I was shown how the heart opening of humanity is happening now in a greater way. We've talked about this before, but the heart opening is the soul opening. It's where the higher mind marries the spirit and soul and becomes more sort of love-filled, more sort of love. It's in integrating the energy of pure love. Now, pure love is unconditional. And as I was thinking along the line of history about how we fell, from the state of pure love, and we fell into that absolute mindlessness where everything had to be in your mind, everything had to be rationalized, everything had to be physical. You had to be able to touch it, you had to be able to see it, you had to be able to be in it. That we lost the heart, we lost the whole. A love aspect, the interdimensional aspect of life. And what everybody's ever had a clear vision, that moments when your vision opens up and you suddenly see, with the all-seeing, the all-being, the all-knowing, you realize that the whole cosmos was constructed out of love. It was created out of love. It was created out of the merging of a divine masculine with a divine feminine, and that brought creation to the fore. Now, as the divine masculine is finding himself and divine feminine is finding herself, we're returning to the state of balance. So it's a matter of now the scales going up, up, up and down, which brings that shifting sand on which you cannot stand. You're not quite sure which way it's going. And it's the power of love that is now moving in. And it's a beautiful force. I was actually in December just told to for the first time in my life to transmit the divine feminine. And it was amazing. All that came through was like this power of love pouring into the planet. It's pouring into her cells. It's pouring into everything that's ever programmed on this planet. Now, you must remember that the programming has happened for millions of years. Everything that's ever programmed into our cells and our DNA is busy disintegrating. We are busy being transformed into a much higher state of being. We are assuming a crystalline body. We are assuming a more open third eye. And with that, the faculties of our mind will open up that we haven't used for millions of years. The higher mind is stepping in balance with the higher love. So what is going to happen now is that we literally have to stop attaching to anything. As I said, we cannot take the 3D world with us. As much as we want stability, as much as we want the foundations and the structures and the forms to be there, it will be shifting sands. We cannot rely on that anymore. What we have to rely on is to actually now start inventing the new, being the visionaries that is busy seeing what needs to be done and anchoring that firmly into Mother Earth. So we are causing an inward revolution because that revolution is to come inside of us, not outside of us. But as it comes inside of us, we are affecting the whole. We are creating the new. And it's now that we will literally have to stand on the shifting sand, but at the same time, not worry too much about the future, but just
Uh-oh. I think she popped out, or is that just me? Let's see. Hang on one second. No, she did freeze up. Let me tell her to go out and come back in. Judith, go out and come back. If she can see that. Okay, she's going to come back. That was good stuff. I have a question for her. Yeah. Is the energy? Yeah, it'll be all right. She'll be back. She'll be right back. We'll hold space for her. I've got a question for her. Hello, everybody. Sorry about the tech difficulty. Let's see. It happens on many transmissions, I've noticed. Yeah. That's another reason why we want to have more control over what we're doing. It's soulogy.one. When we do these broadcasts in time from our own independent site. Hopefully she'll be right back. She could have had a internet outage. I don't know. Yeah, I was going to ask her. So what do we do? Do we hold the space of divine love, of pure love? However we do that, relationships within ourselves, within our family, within our whatever, and apply our creativity from our imagination in terms of what she's talking about, being visionaries and building from the internal. And does that attract, or does that manifest in the external? In other words, we like she was saying before the show and during the show, do you plan? Well, you don't plan anymore. You don't plan, like her guides told her in December. So what's the alternative? The alternative is, like she said, you go inside and hold that space of pure love and apply your imagination, your vision, and then see what happens from there. Okay, here she is. Let's see here. She's back. Okay. She's not back. What did she say? I'm not quite sure what happened, but suddenly there's no link. Okay, I'm not sure what happened either. Oh, there she is.
There you are. The energy is getting too much.
I know. And I just kept going. And I told him I'm going to ask her this question when she gets back. That was beautiful what we were talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to make sense from a layman term. So because I love what you said. But you got to be a visionary. We need visionaries. It seems like the creation I'm going to say it this way: the creation of matter, I guess, is coming from a different way now. Like you said, your guides told you don't plan anymore. You can't structure anymore. So is it that we hold this divine love, this pure love within ourselves, within our relationship, within the people around us and such, and apply our imagination as visionaries from the internal, apply our imagination to what we see we can create, and then not really plan, but does it come to us? Does it appear before us? Does that power of thought actually bring people in? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes. What happens is that at the moment the higher energy systems are opening up. If you don't have just 7 chakras, you've got 12. I like to see the spinal column as a sort of transmitter. It is like a lightning rod that moves in the energies. It's one of the most powerful conduits of energy is your spinal column. Now, above your crown, you've got 3 other chakras which are opening up to a higher degree now for humanities. Actually, there are 72 chakras all in all, but these ones are the causal chakra, the soul star chakra, and the stellar gateway. And then you've got your sacral chakra splitting into 2. Those are the navel and sacral chakra. And then you've got the earth star chakra, which is right beneath your feet, that anchors you into Mother Earth. So your stellar gateway at the moment is busy opening up to a much higher degree. It's almost like it's this huge satellite dish that sits there. It's busy taking in the cosmic transmitters, and it's moving in through your soul star right into, your whole body and form. That is how we are busy being upgraded at the moment. That sometimes when you feel a bit dizzy or disorientated, it's good to just press down your shoulder blades so you just get grounded again, or stamp your feet. But as these transmitter channels open up, we can actually now step into our co-creatorship, which is a beautiful gift that is being returned to humanity. But within divine laws, within universal laws, and you start applying those universal laws. And as you visualize something, or is given you a vision, you can take that vision into your heart center and fill it with love, with real love. If you really love to bring something into being, you will love it into being. It's like a relationship. If you take your beloved into your heart, you want to gift that love, you want to expand it, you want to bring it into a higher form of being. And that is where co-creatorship comes in. Now, if you then take that energy from your heart center and you project it to your soul's through your third eye, that vision, that picture, and into your soul star, the soul star, and hold it for a minute there. You energize it, literally energize it, and then project it out to the universe. That will immediately have a ripple effect on the whole energy fields. And the divine creates with energy, and energy feels. Now, within the divine creation, that sends out signals, and it sends. I'm trying to not get technical here, but it's like a signal.
I'm with you on this. I'm with you.
Yeah, and it starts affecting the field.
Yes.
And because at the moment the dimensional fields are in such a different way, it's like the third is here. You cannot do it in that third dimensional state, but as you move up higher, that becomes the field. So it's projecting into the field, it becomes the field, and then it manifests into form.
Okay. So essentially, if I have a vision and this is what I feel is my calling, closest to my heart, what I've been called to do, my work, or whatever you want to call it, my passion. I bring this into my heart and love it into existence, taking it up through this satellite, basically, and broadcasting it into the infinite universe, and not attach, and just keep going.
Let it go. Yeah. I've often been given vision that in the ancient times, they sometimes, the high priest and the high priestesses put it like they almost like a ball of fire. That's what I was often see, as a ball of fire. And they literally sort of like threw this ball of fire. If you can imagine that, if you put that same sort of like a crystal ball and fill it with everything that you want to envision, and you project it outwards, it's going to go with the same type of energy into that field. And what is there in the field will manifest. I must remember now, it's sending out ripple effect. It's sending out like the vibration up there. And then it will magnetize in that vibrational field what needs to come into manifestation. That is not your problem. I'm always told by the divine, you sow the seeds. What happened to that seed is not your problem. You give it to me, it will come into manifestation in the perfect divine timing. So that is why we need to let go of it, because the minute we fiddle around with it and we attach to it, we are pulling it down back into the third D. We literally have to let it go. Broadcast it out, let it go. What happens to it is not your problem. It might take a few years to get into manifestation, but it will come in perfect divine timing. Like you will get, like you were saying, you got the air ticket in time, and while you're on the plane, the place manifested where you needed to stay. So it's a journey of trust. We have to learn to have faith and trust again. We have to learn that whatever we put out there, if we have faith and trust, it will come into form. But we don't need to fiddle with it. We can maybe fine-tune it a bit. We can reinvent the wheel, so to say. But the beauty of it is that whatever is not of a highest in that vibrational field will disintegrate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your intent has to be pure. You know, they read your intent. What are you going to do with it? Do you really fill it with love? Is that what you want from your heart and soul and the depths of your being to use in higher service? Not
Yes.
for self-service, but for higher service. That's the collective lesson of humanity. Atlantis fell because they were self-serving. And you know, when your ego comes in, your negative ego, and you want everything just for me, you know, then what happens is you become, and if you divorce the mind from the heart, you become self-destructive. Then you start inventing things that will blow up the planet like Atlantis nearly did. They nearly blew up the planet. And that is why we fell into the seas of forgetfulness, is because then the Intergalactic Council stepped in and said, no ways, you're not going to blow up this planet, because in the wars of heaven, that's what happened when the planet between Mars and Jupiter blew itself up. And it actually brought the whole cosmos into a total state of chaos. And it took many Earth years for that to settle. And they said, never ever will a planet be allowed to blow itself up again. So the thing is, as soon as humanity becomes too destructive, it blows itself up. But now we've got to learn to get over that lesson. We've got to learn to become masters. What do we become masters at? How do you manifest into form, which is for the greater good of all, and you create it with love? If you create something with love, you cannot do something that will you will try to be the best into being, if I can put it in that way. Sometimes we have, our intention is good, but we you know, some people, they have a best intention, but they sort of mess up more than they could. But we, you know, must remember that everything is put through a divine filter, and in that will be allowed, which is for the highest good of all concerned. But you must remember that you will never in life be without challenges. You will always have both the challenges and the support. And the challenge is what really hones your soul muscles. That is why in the ancient mystery schools, they put you through initiations. Why do they put you through initiations? So that you could grow to the next level of enlightenment. Otherwise, you get stuck here. You get stuck. You're not growing. That is why, you know, those jolly challenges and whatever can be jolly uncomfortable, incredibly uncomfortable. But we grow through that. If we didn't have challenges, we would not grow. And we have to now grow into that fifth dimensional state and higher. If we don't grow through that, we cannot lead humanity. That is why with these new souls now waking up, they need us to be right out there voicing that leadership. Otherwise, they get lost. Then they just sink right back to where they were before, because there's nobody helping them. There's nobody showing them the way. So what you've been through in the last few years has just been preparing you for that ultimate state where you have to step more and more onto center stage and broadcast that. So, you know, and the work will get supported at some stage or other. It will get there. Because at the moment, we must remember we're pioneers. We're like the ancient seafarers who went out and started to explore and find new continents, which have always been there. They forgot about them. So we've forgotten what it's like to be space travelers. We've always been there. But now we've got to step onto that higher stage where we're space travelers, where we connect the Earth again to the galactic core where they belong. So we've got to start the interstellar communications again. We've got to start the greater communication systems going again. And that goes through consciousness. It doesn't go anywhere else. It goes through
I love that analogy. You know, the seafarers went out, the continents never left. We just forgot they were there. And it's the same thing though. That's what you're saying. It's always been there. You know, and they never went anywhere. So we're actually doing what we've done before, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, you see, we sunk so deep in the seas of forgetfulness and you must remember that untruths were told humanity. It was literally programmed into humanity. Now the deprogramming has come. We've got to now start being deep. That's why we have to start getting the old programming out of the way. It's very painful at times because you've got to really dig deep, because it's not only your programming, it's your family programming. It's everything else. Like I had an incident in my family the other day, and I was like really down. And then for myself, that I'm not that family anymore. I have transcended that family. I'm being pulled into a broader family now to serve. And they also have to understand that. But if I allow myself to be pulled back, I'm pulled back into the 3D, and I don't want to do that.
No.
See, so the challenges will come, and you have free will and choice. You can use what you can say. Okay, that's not for me anymore. I've transcended that now. Okay. But it takes a gut to walk alone. It takes a gut to break away from the crowd. But I was never forget something that when I was a few years ago, was involved in a group, and I was challenged by the group leader at the time. And I knew that deep in my higher soul and being, I could not fulfill what she was trying me to do. And I actually then resigned from the group, but I went to the leader of the group and I wrote that letter. And I got a letter back which really spoke to me, and it said, mastery is the ability to walk alone if you need be. If you need to walk that path alone, that's mastery. And a lot of us will challenge the status quo because we have to challenge the status quo. I've challenged it my whole life. But it's because we need to break the old norm. We need to break the old programming. And if we don't step out their leadership roles and do that, then everybody will get lost. And our souls undertook that long before we incarnated. Our souls undertook that plan and said, okay, we are incarnating to help humanity through these times. And a lot of us are souls that have been through persecution in past lives. We have been through immense pain in last life to bring that light back to humanity at times. And now we're going to step into our ultimate role and lift humanity through that. But the thing is, we first have to get lifted and deprogrammed before we can do that.
Yeah. It sounds like part of what you're saying is the challenges will always be there. Along with the challenges comes some level of worry and fear, but as opposed to maybe trying to spend so much time deprogramming or getting rid of that stuff, it's just keep going with your vision and your mission, and because even if the worry and the fear stay with you, at least you're going forward. I mean, you would think that it would dissipate, but at some level proportionate to where you're at, it sounds like, well, what do challenges bring? I mean, they bring creativity, they bring solution, they bring growth and expansion, but they also bring fear and worry. And give me some relief. No, but I that's what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah. And also to see the benefits of it, not to always see, oh gosh, you see your fear steps in because you start seeing all the dragons along the way. Now the dragons are lovable, but sometimes we conjure up dragons that are terribly fierce or whatever else, and we like shake when we look at them instead of befriending the dragon, like saying, okay, you're not as fierce as you look, And the thing is, if you actually start stepping past the fear, you wonder what you're ever worried about. You wonder why you ever feared.
Yeah.
I have had moments in the last few years where afterwards I'm thinking to myself, what did I worry myself sick for,
Yeah.
It's a matter of trusting the greater plan, the greater master plan, which is unfolding. We're never an entity on our own. You are doing your work where you need to be doing it exactly there, while the others are doing their work where they need to be doing it. And in the end, we all slot in where we're exactly where we need to be. That's the beauty of it. And if one day we look back at this time on the planet when we write back to our soul homes, our galaxy of origin, and we can see how we all work together. And some of us have worked together for many lifetimes. not just this lifetime. How all of us comes together, we will stand in awe and wonder and have tears of gratitude running down our cheeks. And we say, thank you. Thank you for every challenge. Thank you for every moment when I was tested to the core. Thank you that I did the work, because now I can see the results. It's like anything in life. If you finally get there, you say thank you because you struggled your way through it. If something comes too easy, we not appreciate it. We tend to just, it's just one of those things that happen. But once we had to struggle through it and we get to that moment where we can look back and say, wow, look how far I've come. It is just one of the greatest moments of joy and inspiration and awe that you have. And to me, I don't want to finish this lifetime without completing mission. I want to complete my mission. And that to me is my driving force. It gets darn uncomfortable at times. It's darn uncomfortable to keep holding the light. It's darn uncomfortable to sometimes speak out, and you know that most won't understand what you're saying. But you have to say it anyway. You have to say it anyway, whether because you cannot do or be anything else. You have to be truthful to what you in truth are in your soul. And that is why love is so great a power, is that if you truly love what you are called to do, and you know that you can't do anything other, you will put it out there. You will allow the discomfort. You will allow everything else that you've got to do, because you know ultimately this is serving.
Yeah.
It's like when you go into a relationship, you have no cuckoo clue what's going to happen in the future. You have no cuckoo clue.
That's right.
You can only love in this moment to the greatest and highest degree. And when you love, if you look back, you see how love has grown. You see how you have evolved through that love, because you keep holding that love in your heart. And you want to have ever greater levels of love and being loved. It's the same when you create something. You are so engrossed in the creative process that you become that creation and you fill it with love. And that is the secret of all creation, that whatever you create with love, you become it and you broadcast it out, because that is how you manifest it into form.
Yeah. And maybe there's an element of deprogramming that involves to stop measuring ourselves by where we came from in this 3D, because there's, I guess, in a way, there's it's a new dimension or new multiple dimension, and there's a new measuring stick or a new way to assess things.
I see it actually as exciting, because I see it as a journey of exploration. It's like we're in a spaceship and now we're going out to outer space, and we start, sort of discovering wormholes or whatever else. And now we can actually investigate them, or we can start creating new stars. You've got to literally have that adventurous spirit now. And say, okay, I don't know where this adventure is leading me, but I want to go out and explore. I want to see what new possibilities can we bring into form and into motion. You have to let go of the old structures. You've got to let go of the old formulas. The old formulas are not working anymore. They've been tested and tried, and now we need to create new formulas. We've got to create a new way of life, a higher way of life. So how do you create it? By experimenting. Okay, some of this we will maybe fall by the wayside a bit, because we also now, that unsurety, because you're standing on shifting sands. But the beauty of it is that we're always guided. We are guided. We are guided by much higher, sort of guides and forms, so that are always, if we ask for their help, we will be given that which we need for that next step, the next vision that we need to do, that which we need to bring into creation. And that's your intuitive knowing. I so often have work with healers and also with medical staff or whatever, and I do soul readings for them. And they say to me, but I've always known this. But I can't apply this to my profession, because if I do that, then, I get kicked out or whatever else. And yet I asked him, I said, if the moment that you've actually used your intuitive voice and that intuitive knowing, did you go and save somebody's life? And they said, yes. So what do you want to do? Do you want to stick to the formulas, or do you want to go and create something greater than that? See? It's the same principle here. We have to now step past the old programming, the old formulas, these old structures, that have been there since Tutantu, they're not going to work anymore. So that is why the shifting sands are there. We have to now create something new, and you've got to be brave enough to do it. But remember that any new invention changes lives. So we're inventing a new way of life, and that's the beauty of it. It's almost like we can co-create now at the highest degree. It's exciting to me. It's like, okay, wow, life is going to get very exciting in the next few years, because as the dimensional shifts open, more faculties in our brains are going to open up. We're going to remember so much of the old technology that lay buried, in the old civilizations. Most of them are sunk under seas. But that's what I'm busy doing, retrieving that information. We start applying that. We have all the tools there. It's a matter of remembering them. It's a matter of finding them again and then applying them into that higher dimensional state. Because remember, the earth was in the seventh, sunk to the fifth, and then it fell into the third. But that information has never been lost. It has been stored in energy fields. We have to rise up to that level to access it again. And as soon as we access that, we will be given the tools for the next part of our journey forward. That is why, for instance, you were led to Hawaii, because Hawaii was one of the greatest centers of the ancient world. And that information is there. That's why you're having all these experiences. We might have different experience at different time, but the energy is still there. The information is still there. It's a matter of tapping into it.
Yeah.
Of being guided to go and do that.
Yeah. Yes. And I love that analogy too of the explorer, because if we, and I believe the human's the hero. I believe I'm only going to be Todd once, but at the same time, I'm also a multidimensional being coming in to his own. So if I'm a multidimensional, eternal, limitless being, why would I want to go halfway? Why would I want to be confined to these old, like say my old family or whatever the case is, when I know they'll always be with me, way beyond this life. I like that analogy a lot, because it's really a truth to me. Like, we've got nothing to lose.
You've got nothing to lose. And the thing is, within your soul memory bank, you've got a vast access of memory there. To all the knowledge and technology and everything that you ever did in past lives, it's there, right in your soul. You can access it. And then you must remember, you've got your soul group. There goes a huge memory bank and all the guides and technology. Because remember that this intergalactic, it is not bound to Earth. Earth is a tiny speck, and if you go out in the galaxies and stars, you can't even see the Earth. But we chose, through all the galactic knowledge that we have, to be here at this time. We chose to be here. And that was always, to me, like, I laughed because one day I was really cross with, I was really throwing in the towel because I've had enough. I said,
well, that's what I want to talk about.
What the heck did I ever do here? And my higher guides just started laughing. They said, well, you chose to be here. You wanted to be here, so what are you complaining about? And it just shifted right there, myself. Well, you see, I chose to be here. And to the best of my ability, I want to really go and do what I need to do. Okay, it's jolly uncomfortable. It's not easy. But one just does it because you can't do anything else. If you've got a vision greater than yourself, you will get there. You will get there. And to must remember that if that vision is overwhelming, like I often get visions and I've been told this is what you need to do, and it's really overwhelming. I thought myself, how the heck am I ever going to get there? Chunk it, write it down, write the vision down, write it down, because in writing down, some magic happens. Go and write it down in longhand and not just type it out, write it out in longhand. Sketch it if you can't write it. And if you really can't do that, then make an audio visual, record it or whatever. Then go and look at how you can chunk that down into baby steps, little steps at a time. Dr. Timothy has actually taught me that. So you chunk it down into little pieces. And then you start with one tiny step at a time. And once you put those little action steps into motion, one day you'll just get there and you'll say, wow, here I am, and I'm living that. I'm busy doing that. And look, wow. But you see, we only get one step at a time. We can't run before we can walk. We have to allow ourselves, and we're like babies now. We're like babies being born in the new dimension. So we can only take one little step at a time into that. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you must remember that our bodies, our physical bodies, need all the upgrading because it needs to step into that higher dimensional state too. Because otherwise, if it's too dense, it cannot hold form in that new dimensional state. So, and with it comes all the things that we programmed in our physical bodies, with illness and disease and whatever else. That we can't take with us either. So it's a whole transformation that is coming into being. I see it as inspirational. I see it as we're the new pioneers. We're the new explorers. And what are we exploring? We are exploring intergalactic space because that's what we are stepping into. Our communication intergalactically is being restored. Isn't that something to celebrate? Isn't that something to embrace? That we can now at last step into our cosmic heritage, into that which in truth we are at soul level. We can step into that.
That's powerful. That's a powerful explanation. Yes. And Earth is a very special place, I believe. As much as we groan and moan about it, I mean, it's got to be, for it to be this hard, the flip side of it has to be as grand an opportunity as the universe maybe has ever seen. It's really.
It's one of the toughest soul schools there is. It's really tests you to the core. But I always see it that what you learn on planet Earth, you apply cosmically. Because we are now in a state where we have to find balance between the shadow and the light, the yin and the yang, the masculine, the feminine. So it's really pushing us now, on these just jigsaw, like a scale, the scale that is always going up and down, up and down, up and down, until we find balance points, which is equilibrium point. Equilibrium point, you step into the higher dimension, you step into the highest frequency band. So a lot of it will seem like being pulled, simultaneously in sort of like a boom, 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 and we couldn't know which way we're going. But also then see it as a way of growth. Because the minute you transcend that, you step into a higher state of being.
Yeah. So and like you said, it's one step at a time, one thing at a time.
It's one thing at a time. We can't just, I was once asking, I said, well, now what happens if we would just step into that new state, like a lot of people believe that Christ will come down, on a cloud of ascension and the world will just step into the new age. That's not going to happen. It's already happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
Christ consciousness has returned. But the thing is that Christ consciousness is something within you that is being returned. It's your consciousness that rises to the dimensional state it rises in. So that Christedness, that God force is within you. And you are the one that has to literally broadcast it out into the world. Now, and I see it as lights going on all over the world. If you have like a blanket of darkness and you see all these lights starting to switch on, you see some lights are already fully switched on, but some are sort of like starting to flicker. And as soon as a certain percentage of that has actually moved into that state of consciousness, we can step into the next stage and the next and the next. So it's a process that we are being pulled out. But now the beauty of it is that we have these cosmic energies being poured into the earth. All
yeah,
right?
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about that. You
Yeah.
know, with this is the end of an 18-month eclipse cycle. You've got 5 planets that were lined up, and then I think it was from the 17th of this month through the 5th of March. Every planet is in there. No, nothing's in retrograde. Was there like a pistol that went off in the air and the race started and everything changed? Some people have said from their intel that it is a, like, in other words, whatever we put into it, whether it be the clearing and whatever, it is being like 400% fold. Like it's a huge opportunity, a huge window of opportunity for expansion. Does that resonate with you, or does that resonate with the things that
Yes.
you feel or see?
Yes, it's like a portal opening up, and we can literally now. That is why it will feel like a whirlpool sometimes, because all of this is like spun out that doesn't serve your eye as good anymore, and we have that window of opportunity now to let go of the old in a bigger way, and as these energies are pouring in, they are busy energizing us to do that. So we might not always be conscious of it, but I'm sort of like on when was it, Sunday? I was actually feeling it being lifted out of my energy fields, like just being lifted, a huge release. And I believe that there's going to be immense shifts in the next few months. It's going to shift you like never before. You might not even be aware of it, in a conscious level where your subconscious might know. But if you think that the other months were intense, this is even more intense, as it's going to shift us more. It's literally going to shift us where we flip, like the earth's going to flip on its axis. We're going to flip. And what I've noticed, how people are shifting. You can actually see it if from the way they react, from the way that they actually send you emails sometimes, how they shifted. You can't believe it's the same person that was there about 2 months ago. Now they shifted to a higher gear. And we will literally see how people shift. One day they'll say this, and the next day they say the absolute opposite. You say, what happened to you?
I noticed. I'm sorry. I noticed that, because over the previous months and even years, and everybody had their day, where they would go out on Facebook and they would make this big statement and da 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 da. But I noticed, like, around the end of the year and into January, I saw people doing that. I saw what you're talking about, that whirlpool. But the other thing I saw was they would come right back and say, "Hey, thank you for letting me do that." I even saw one person said, "I'm not going to take this down," but in other words, I spun out a little bit and thank you for holding space for me. But yeah, you're right. So you could actually see the shift, within a short period of time, with their expression.
Mm-hmm. To me, it's just beautiful. And if we stay in the heart of love and we allow that love to go into every single cell and part of our being, we will find the tools to do what we need to do. It's amazing. And these 3 months is, to me, it's like I was shown that the portal to Sirius is now fully opened up. It started in November last year. So in November this year, it was opening up more. And it's really pouring the illumination onto the planet.
Yeah.
The illumined state is busy pouring in. And it is illuminating our hearts and minds like we've never been before. And it's interesting that what is dormant in the soul will now be awakened. You know, where people might have still been programmed by the old, you know, education systems, and, you know, you've got to fit in, you've got to have this, and you've got to have that, you know, the material side of things, not because it is, but, you know, you're not somebody if you don't do this, or if you don't do that. That's all going to be sort of like slowly but surely falling by the wayside.
Yeah, that's an interesting part.
You know, it's not important. What is important is your consciousness shift. What is important is what inside of you that is shifting, so that you can create a much higher state of life.
Yeah.
The values are going to change. That which the whole society structured itself on is going to change, because it's not working anymore.
Yeah.
If you look at it, is anything working on the planet to a high degree? No.
No.
It's not working. So, but it hasn't. But the truth is, it needs not to work.
Yeah.
It needs not to work. In literally, it needs to just fall by the wayside, so that the higher can move in. So actually, as everything is beautifully synchronized and is beautiful, everything is exactly where it should. But it's busy shifting at an amazing rate.
Yes, it is an amazing rate. So I just want to reiterate, I mean, because I'd like to simplify things, that whatever it is, your passion, your relationship, your whatever it is, for the highest good of all, even if it's a relationship, even if it's whatever, you bring that vision into your heart, and then you send it up through, you know, essentially, you know, the chakras, and you broadcast it out, and you detach from the outcome and just keep moving on with that. That's the new way of creating. And in this case, there's still an element of matter, so actually creating matter. Is that close to what you were saying?
Because we need to anchor it into Mother Earth. Mother Earth is still solid. She's not. She always will be solid. You know, most people think that it's going to be, you know, it's not going to take physical form. No, it is physical form in a higher dimensional state.
Very good.
Everything has form. Everything has structure. Everything is structured in the universe. There's nothing that is not structured. Even if a physical form is in the 7th dimension, it's still structured and it's created for the 7th dimension. With our naked eyes, we cannot see it, but we can see it with our inner eyes.
Yeah.
Because our inner eyes can tune into that dimension, but our naked eyes will not be able to see it.
Yeah. And do you think that we'll see more and more of the elemental kingdoms?
Yes.
With our naked eyes?
Because you see, in the beginning, we used to work with the elementals. You can't ignore them. They're part of the co-creators of Earth. You take the elementals away, the Earth cannot function, because they have a very vital role to play. And most of them are 5th dimensional. That's why we couldn't see them with our naked eyes. You can see them with your 3rd eye.
Yeah.
And they never left. But it was in Atlantis where they started to abuse the elementals. And because they abused everything, they started stepping totally in their mind. And it's just like they mixed animals with humans or whatever else. And then, invented corrosive things, that eventually turned against them, whatever they created. That is Atlantis. So the lesson of Atlantis is that we will have to start respecting not only Mother Earth and not strip her of everything, because we will start remembering how to use energy fields to bring energy into being.
Yes.
We will not need to strip the earth of its resources in order to create energy to live. That is the new technology that is going to come to the fore now. I was reading something about Nikola Tesla the other day, and what he had already foreseen was that, and nobody knows what happened to his work. but people are starting to become conscious of it again because he was already foreseeing that humanity would use in that fifth dimensional state. But you see, a lot of that technology will now come into the fore. And we will not be able to strip the earth anymore because there will come a cut-off time where they say, no, this is not working anymore.
Yeah.
Again, that technology won't work anymore, the old technology, and they will have to be forced to use the new technology because they'll have to find new and higher ways of life and living on planet Earth. It's all part of that transformation, that way of life that is now opening up. And to me, it's amazing. I mean, they are the pyramids, all right. Everybody looks at the pyramids. Nobody's got a cuckoo clue how they worked, and nobody said. But the pyramids themselves were actually something completely different from what humankind has thought they would be. You understand? When we start getting into that energy field in which the pyramids were built, the dimensional field, suddenly it will be like, aha, now I remember this is how they worked. You see?
Wow.
At the third state, we just saw the structure there. Said, oh, well, this is why did they put all these bricks on top of each other type of thing? And then we invent stories about slaves that built them and so on, which never happened.
Yeah.
The minute we actually go into that higher state, suddenly the technology comes back to us and we say, now we understand, you see.
Wow. That's powerful. And so what's the what is the best and greatest contribution an individual can make? What's the best thing they can do for the highest good of all?
To live truthfully and authentically and to be in highest alignment with his soul purpose and calling. A lot of people always give their power away to other people. They let other people run their lives. They allow other people to dictate to them how they should live, what they should eat, what they should be, whatever. And it's a herd instinct, If the whole herd is, if everybody's doing that, I must be doing it as well. I've got to follow the herd. But the truth is now with this dimensional shift, that you cannot follow the herd anymore. You've got to be true to yourself, and you've got to, know thyself is one of the greatest of all things. Know thyself means that you start connecting to the deepest core of your own self. And you look at what is it that you truly love being? What is it that you truly love doing? What are you being called to do? A lot of people come with excuses. They say, oh, well, I've always known this, but I can't do that. I'm to this, I'm to that, I'm to whatever else. That is not the way to go. If you're called to do something, you will find ways to go and do it, because you cannot do anything else but live truthfully to your own soul. So if you are being called to go to, say, Timbuktu and start something there, then go to Timbuktu and start it. It's not easy. I know that from
Right.
when I started awakening, I thought I was going cuckoo. I really thought I was, everybody else thought I was going cuckoo. But now I say, thank heavens it happened. And I had the guts to follow that voice, just like you have. If I never followed that voice, I wouldn't be here, sitting here today, talking to you. I would still be what I was before. And I would have been miserable there because that life was not what I was meant to be in anymore. So I say thank you for a great wake-up call that I had, where everything just was pulled under me and I had to go and sink and swim. I had to go and find a new way of life. I had no other option. Today I say thank you for that, because I had nothing to fall back on. I literally had to create a new life for myself. And today I say thank you for that. And I can understand exactly what you're going through, Todd, because I've been there. And it's darn scary and it's darn uncomfortable. But it's now I can say thank you. I don't ever want to be anybody else than I am now. And I can, and once you start living your truth and you start living it congruently to what your soul is calling you to do, you cannot be anybody else.
Yeah.
And you suddenly start realizing there will always be people that criticize you as much as people that will support you. There will always those that will pull you down as much as those that will pull you up. You need both sides in life to have balance. Because so often the ones that criticize is the ones that really sort of get us into action. Because,
Right. That's true
uh,
for me.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
my biggest motivator. Or
Exactly.
has
It
been.
motivates you to go and say, well, I go do it anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's so interesting because I had the same thing last year where my family, was would be my greatest critics, actually. Someone said to me, gosh, look how far you've come. I do admire your guts. And I thought, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can see it. So you know, so they might be your greatest critics and challenges, but they also push to go.
Yeah.
They push you. They
Yeah.
force you to go and do what you need to do. And
Yeah.
so, if you want people to just always pat you on the back and you look at who's approving of yourself, you won't get anywhere in life.
No. 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 You're right about that. And I always felt too that if I look at my life at some of the antagonists in my life, I always think to myself, well, who would you want to be your antagonizer, but those who up at that higher level are closest to you, and who would volunteer for it?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
that's
don't know.
right.
It's yeah. I mean, it's a. But yeah, wow, wow, that's an incredible hour and 15 minutes. That was a fantastic uh, update, and yeah, thank you so much for your words and for your wisdom and for spending time with us. And I look forward to future collaborations. Uh, and when your book comes out, let me know so we can expand the awareness of it through the network.
Yeah, thank you. I have a twin flame book that's now out. It's available on Amazon. So
Oh yeah,
it's also
yeah.
got all my poems and things in it. So yes, it's called An Ode to Love and Being Loved, which is
Oh
which
yeah,
is just a journey itself. And as there's nothing like love and being loved. And
yeah,
it is a
yeah.
journey in itself.
Yeah. This is yeah. That makes it real simple, And I think that's something I'm sure me. I mean, I know I have, and many others have felt that since they were young. Just got
Yeah.
a little bit sullied, but and so you also do energy work or soul readings.
I do
Uh,
soul readings, and people can go to my website, http stroke www.judithkusel, that's KUSEL.com.
Kusel.
And
I'll
yeah,
get the pronunciation right from here out. I mean, I've been saying Kusel, but Kusel, Judith Kusel. So judithkusel.com and then Amazon and Ode to Love. Is that right?
yeah, and also I've got soul empowerment. I've got two books there, and then I've got one book on my website, which is Why I Was Born in Africa: The Untold History of Elysium and the Lion Kingdom,
Mm,
which gives you the truthful history of the planet. And yeah, I'm busy now with my France book, which is a continuation of it. And yeah, I give online courses too, and I serve humanity as much as I can. In between all my energy work, which I've already been called to travel this year, so I'll be going around. And yeah, what an exciting time to be alive! And I just encourage people to stay in your heart and stay in the love, the divine love, which is there. It's always there, and we can always ask for guidance and we can ask for help. And we're never ever alone. You are never ever alone. You're always held in the arms of divine love and being guided to wherever you need to be. You just need to trust it and to know. And I just wish that everybody would go deeply into the higher state of loving consciousness, and we can radiate forth that into the masses and into the planet, and the shift will accelerate. And
yeah.
I thank you so much, Todd, for being that
Yes.
love, for changing the world. And thank you so much for inviting me back on the show. And bless everybody. And thank you so much for being here with me, us today. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Let's those on the live and on the replay. Let's support Judith Kusel. JudithKusel.com. Amazon Ode to Love, the other book she has on her website and on Amazon, and her services. Soul reading, she did one for me. It was fantastic. She did one for a couple of friends of mine. They wrote me and told me that I didn't even know they did it. And they said, oh, I had a reading from Judith, and whoa. So check it out. Support her. This is the year of collaboration and co-creation. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for coming in tonight. Until the next time, Judith, I'll see you later.
Thank
Peace
you.
out. Take care.